Hi everyone! It's been 4 months since social distancing rules and severe lockdowns were applied in many different parts of the world, and it feels like a whole year has gone by already, doesn't it? In the last 2 videos, we talked about tips on how to teach online and how to make online lessons more fun in an attempt to try to cope with this new demand. This time, I want to invite you for a reflection on what we've been doing and how this experience of teaching online all of a sudden has affected our teaching practice moving forward. I'll be sharing with you 5 insights that I've gained in the last few months, both teaching and observing teachers in their lessons. They will range from practical in-lesson factors to broader topics like the role of the teachers. So come with me. Lesson number 1, reading on screen is not like reading on paper. In my online teaching and in lessons I've been observing, I've noticed a pattern. Grammar, vocabulary and other language systems lessons, they haven't changed much from what we used to do in the English classroom. However, lessons that focus on the development of skills like speaking, writing and listening do not translate to the online environment as easily. And in fact, it is with reading lessons that I've been seeing both teachers and students struggling the most. One of the factors that we have to take into consideration is the length of the text that we choose. We need to ensure that the length of the text that we ask our students to read is suitable to the technology they have at home or the technology that you use in the classroom. Longer texts like blog posts or online articles are better suited to reading on computers and laptops because of the larger screen size. Shorter texts like Twitter tweets or Facebook or Instagram posts are suited to the smaller screens or smartphones. A lot of the difficulties we've been facing with teaching reading has to do with practicalities, like how to share materials with the students, how to display a long text on the screen. But there's something fundamentally different about the way we read and interact with texts on a paper and on a screen. Activities we usually propose in face-to-face lessons usually involve a way of interacting with the text that cannot be replicated or transferred to screens that easily, highlighting important parts, making side notes, underlining evidence to justify answers, etc. If our students are going to read from a screen, be it in an online environment or in a face-to-face classroom, we need to reassess the strategies that we ask them to use. Here are some ideas that I've seen being implemented that can be very useful. Retype the text on a word processing document so that students can use the tools to highlight, comment, and format the text. Use texts that have been originally designed to be read on screens rather than in course books. Share text with students in more than one way: email, WhatsApp message, links to websites, file sharing websites and tools, screenshot of the text being displayed, etc. Make sure that students have access to both questions and text at all times. Combine on-screen reading with pen and paper note-taking. Lesson number 2, we need to rethink lessons and materials. But it's not only reading that's affected by the mode in which we deliver our lessons. There are lots of consolidated practices from the physical classroom that are simply impractical in the online environment. While most of us are still using materials designed for face-to-face instruction, they are unlikely to function in the same way. Activities such as turn to your partner, discuss something in your group, work well when students are seated next to each other. However, the time involved in moving into breakout groups makes such brief activities impractical, reducing the frequency of these short interactions online. In order to reduce the feeling of teacher-centeredness in our lessons, we frequently design plans that include lots of small tasks and activities with frequent variation of interaction patterns. What I notice in online lessons is that the teacher-led moments tend to be a bit longer, which is not necessarily something we want to bring to the face-to-face classroom. However, it might be a good idea to have fewer stages and activities in our lessons so that we can explore each task and activity in more depth. Here are some things you can do in order to increase the amount of time that students are working collaboratively. When checking answers to reading and listening tasks, students can agree on justifications for answers based on the text they read or listened to, share what strategies they use to get answers and think about the real-life situations where these strategies can be useful, help each other with understanding of words and ideas in the text that are not necessarily part of the task itself. In controlled practice activities, students can do the activity together, helping each other in the process, prepare to explain the reason for their answers to the teacher or the other groups, Transform the sentences in the exercise so they are true for them and personalized. Lesson number 3, our role as teacher goes beyond teaching English. During these tough times, it became very clear to me that a lot of our students are looking for more than just English language learning in our lessons. A number of students that I talked to told me they were glad to have the English lessons to give them a sense of routine and normality. For many, our online meetings were some of the few moments they could interact with different people, socialize, and even feel less lonely when most of the contact with other people had been drastically changed. We know that the motivation our learners have to join our lessons varies tremendously from student to student and includes not only linguistic goals but also social, psychological, and affective factors. Being able to use this motivation to enrich our lessons is one of the most powerful tools that we teachers have, both in face-to-face and in online contexts. Here are some things you can do in order to make the most out of the socializing needs of our learners. Make sure tasks and activities allow for personalization of language and information. Allow some healthy digression and small talk in lessons, or some time for students to talk freely in English. Ask students to actively contribute to the design of future lessons, helping decide on materials and types of activities that will be used. Choose tasks and patterns of interaction that favor collaboration among learners. Lesson number 4, take care of your body and mind. The way we've been handling the situation might not be perfect, but it's undeniable that teachers, admin staff, directors of study, and school owners have been going out of the way to keep schools alive and ensure that our students keep learning. However, we have to think about how sustainable the situation is in the long run. Zoom burnout is definitely a thing. A lot of teachers and students who are spending hours in front of the computer screens for lessons and meetings are experiencing things like sense of fatigue, having a hard time concentrating, back and neck pain, etc. Here are some things that teachers and the school administration can do in order to make everyone's lives better moving forward. Ensure that you and your teaching staff have a comfortable chair and desk to work. Adapt timetables to make sure that teachers and students have enough off-screen breaks. Stand up, move around, and stretch between lessons or in moments when you can turn your camera off for a few minutes, like when you're monitoring breakout rooms. Use flipped lessons to reduce the time spent on screen without reducing the learning time. The topic of teacher burnout is nothing new though. Even before the current crisis, this is a conversation that was already going on. Here are some older articles and blog posts from ET Professional and Modern English Teacher that can help you understand it and act upon it. Share it with your colleagues and your staff members. How Meditation Can Make Us Better Teachers by Usha Pafortescue, Identifying and Tackling Teacher Burnout by Debbie Matters, and 2 blog posts by Chiaswan Chong, Give Yourself a Pat on the Back and Imposter Syndrome in Teaching and How to Deal with It. You can also check out the booklet Looking After Your Well-Being, part of the CPD in Your Inbox series. It's a free downloadable booklet when you subscribe to the Pavilion ELT newsletter. Check the link in the description. Lesson number 5, our ability to adapt to new situations is amazing. Change is hard to implement, and we all tend to stay in our comfort zones until an external factor forces us to adapt. Once you take the first step though, things evolve quite quickly. Many of us who resisted using technology for so long have suddenly realized that it's not only possible, but it can also be profitable to our learners. The same thing can be true for using different methodologies, teaching techniques, and new materials. Allow yourself to try new things, whether your lessons continue online or go back to face-to-face settings. Experiment with different ways of teaching. Curiosity, willingness to learn, and care for our students' needs are some of the greatest attributes any teacher can have. And let us know how it goes in the comment section below. And why not even writing your own article or blog post about your experience? Let's keep the conversation going. You can reach me at whatisELT. Keep safe and keep teaching.